think it's hump day. Sometimes I don't even know. I think it's hump day. I am getting ready to, for those of you following along this book drama saga, I am getting ready to import my book into the self-publishing app that needs to happen in order for it to be formatted correctly and to do all the things that need to be done to it. So it's kind of an exciting day. This whole week, that's been my focus. It's been a little bit of a emotional roller coaster, a little bit, just like when I stop and think about all the things that I've accomplished in the last 2 years with functional medicine, just that big pivot from what I was doing career-wise, and just when I think back to how many webinars I've done, the program that I've developed, all the one-on-one clients that I've seen, all the phone calls that I've had, all the, celebrations that I've had with people about, them losing 60 pounds or being able to walk 10,000 steps when they weren't able to do that before, or to finally beating that, sugar addiction that they had. And, it's just, it's so amazing, but it's so hard to wrap yourself around everything that has been done in the last 2 years. So this is just one more step. I'm also in the process of revamping my program. You learn a lot when you put something out there. It really takes I have to stop and sort of give myself a little bit of credit along the way, in that it takes bravery to put your information out there kind of on its own. With this group program, I love it because it makes the opportunity to have functional medicine, to have my intellectual property. And I say it like that because it's how I have been able to get these amazing results. It's how I work with people, but it's done in these videos so that you have this video vault that you can go to, and it walks you through my whole entire process. Kind of putting that out there, just sort of releasing it out into the world, and not letting it stand on its own, not being there every step of the way to answer every single question that comes up, to have it stand on its own is, it takes bravery to do that. It takes bravery. You have to have your mind wrapped around the concept, and it has to be so clear what the next step is for you to relay that to somebody in a video, and to have that video stand on its own. But it allows the opportunity for so many more people to be able to work the process that I know that works, without that bigger price tag of working with me one-on-one. If you get personalized care and you get that one-on-one kind of concierge treatment, of course it's going to cost more. But I wanted to, bring this back to where most people could afford it. Most people that were interested, most people that were going to do it could afford it. And I have an opportunity for you to do it completely DIY, and then another opportunity for you to do it in a group setting with, some live group coaching that I'm super excited about, because I think that having community and knowing that you have those questions answered, an opportunity to have those questions answered, and also to have that accountability, to know that someone's expecting you to show up week after week after week, is that little extra touch that some people need. I would need that. If you just gave me the DIY program, I would have the best intentions, but even I, as motivated and consistent and all of that as I am, that would not be the best choice for me. I would need to do that live coaching portion. But I have the opportunity for you to choose whatever works for you. And then, of course, my one-on-one. And then I have another lab funnel out there, another opportunity to get a lab. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because I have been I got a hair tissue mineral analysis. I know a lot of people, I've gotten so many questions about that. I love it. Keep asking the questions because it just helps me to know what I'm explaining well and what I'm not explaining well. So it just helps me to get better at making sure that you have the information that you need for this. So I did, I'm healthy. I don't take any medications. I'm a normal weight. I work out all the time, like I have energy for the most part. But I was noticing that like I was getting more sore after my workouts. And nothing else had changed. Like the intensity of my workouts hadn't changed. My sleep, I've really, since I got the results back from my hair tissue mineral analysis, I've been staunch about getting better sleep. But you kind of get into your routine, you kind of do your things, and you're like, things start to shift and they start to sneak up on you, like changes start to sneak up on you. And then you're like, eventually you stop and you look around and you're like, how did I get here? We got here a little bit at a time. And that's sort of what was happening to me. And so, I'm getting certified in this hair tissue mineral analysis. I'm almost done with that. And I was like, it opened up this whole new world. I've been in traditional medicine for 35 years. Like, we don't care what's in your hair. We don't know about what's in your hair. We think about like, if you're acutely ill, when you're in the hospital, of course, we're looking at your potassium and your magnesium and all of that, but we're not looking at your zinc. And unless you're unless you have enemies or you owe people some money, we're not thinking about the fact that you could have these toxins in your body that are causing problems. Like, that's just not part of traditional medicine. That is absolutely part of what I do now in functional medicine. But even you have to learn about it. Like, you learn it, as it comes along. Well, so hair tissue mineral analysis, I was introduced to somebody that, this is all that she does essentially. And, just hearing her talk about it excited me about what I could learn. And so here we are. I did a hair tissue mineral analysis on myself. And what I found is that there was an explanation for those subtle little things that I was experiencing. There was an explanation for why I just felt like I felt more tired than I had been. There was a reason why I felt a little more sluggish, why I felt a little wired when I went to bed at night, but tired in the morning. Why I had these little pangs of anxiety every once in a while. I'm not an anxious person, but I was feeling anxious. And so I was like, okay, I've got to explain this. So when I got my hair tissue mineral analysis back, I know that I've told you what those results were, but it showed that I was severely deficient in a lot of minerals, and that I had a heavy metal toxicity, that I had arsenic in my blood in way higher amounts than what it needed to be. Of course, you're not supposed to have any of that, right? And just the fact that I had some. I was worried about aluminum because, it's just been a recent thing that I've taken the aluminum out of the cookware. I've taken the aluminum out of the deodorant. I'm looking for these things. But I don't eat foods that are traditionally high in arsenic, like rice is one of those big ones. I don't eat those foods. So I was like, where did this come from? It came from my water, which I'm still waiting on my water filtration system to show up. But anyway, it showed severe mineral deficiency. And so I wanted to take a moment and explain how that sets you up for heavy metal toxicity. I also thought that I might have some mercury issues because I have fillings, and I also eat a ton of fish. I'm trying to be healthy. I eat a ton of fish because it's, an anti-inflammatory. It has the good fats in it, all the things that I'm trying to do healthy for myself. But it makes me nervous that, I might be exposing myself to mercury more than your average bear, right? So I'm happy to report that mercury is fine, aluminum is fine. Those are the two things I expected. The arsenic came out of nowhere. So here's what happens when you have mineral deficiencies, and that can come from the fact that you have a crappy diet, so you're not actually getting them into the body. It could come from the fact that you don't have what I like to call intestinal fire, which means that you don't have gastric acid, because so many people are on antacids or they're on proton pump inhibitors. You know, the effects, the signs and symptoms of having too little acid are exactly the same as what we've been told of having too much acid to be put on those proton pump inhibitors. So it's exactly the same. And if you're not being tested, then you're probably being treated with a proton pump inhibitor when you actually need more digestive, you need more gastric acid. I hate to break it to you, but that's probably the case. The reason that you're being treated with a proton pump inhibitor is because they want to protect your esophagus. The lining of your esophagus, the lining of your stomach is two completely different cells. The cells in your stomach can withstand that acid. The lining of your esophagus cannot withstand that acid, and it gets damaged. So they're trying to prevent that damage of your esophagus when they really need to treat why you're having that reflux to begin with. And a lot of times the reason you're refluxing is because you don't have enough gastric acid that is like the starter gun, so that gastric acid helps your body to chemically break down your food. So your food is just sitting there rotting, and it's producing gas, and that gas is producing pressure, and so things are refluxing back into the esophagus. So how traditional medicine treats that is that they decrease the amount of acid so that that's a protective mechanism for your esophagus, when the ultimate treatment would be to increase your intestinal fire so that you actually digest that food so that it doesn't rot and ferment and create that gas and create that pressure in your stomach. Gastric acid also is the starter gun for you to release pancreatic enzymes that get released into the small bowel so that it further breaks down your food, and also to release bile into your small intestine so that you can break down and absorb fat. So if you don't have that gastric acid, you are not digesting your food, and you are not going to break it down into the smallest particle size so that you are absorbing it. So you might have it in your diet, it just might not be getting into your bloodstream because of that simple issue to fix, right? It's like, this is why functional medicine just makes so much sense to me. It's like, why put a Band-Aid on something when you can actually fix it, right? You can fix it. So many people that are on proton pump inhibitors also have a problem with constipation. You want to know why? Because you're not digesting stuff. You're not sending the signals through your gut so that it has these chemical messages so that it functions normally, so that it moves things through, and that's why you get constipated. Anyway, I went totally down a rabbit hole there, but I really want you to understand why this is so important. So I have a good diet. I might not have enough, intestinal fire. I don't have acid reflux. I don't have any of that thing. But as we age, our gastric acid automatically goes down. So it could be that I'm just not getting these minerals into my body. So I had a severe mineral deficiency. Magnesium, sodium was high, which just is a pattern that we see when you have high stress. Yes, I do have high stress. And things like stress actually chew up a lot of your minerals. So maybe it was in my diet, maybe I was actually absorbing it, but because of my lifestyle, I was actually just chewing through these minerals. Doesn't matter. Well, it does, because I want to get to the bottom of it. But there's a bunch of different reasons that need to be investigated as to why I was mineral deficient. But I was mineral deficient. And so you have these mineral receptors that when they are not full of minerals, they actually are a holding place for these heavy metals. Heavy metals would be aluminum, cadmium, lead, arsenic, mercury. There's a couple more, but the receptor it looks the same for both of them. And so what happens is that these heavy metals that we're all exposed to because our environments are toxic, our food is toxic, our water is toxic, our air is toxic, the chemicals that we use to clean our bodies and to clean our homes, and fragrances, and I could go on and on and on. We're just exposed to an insane amount of toxins. But those heavy metals can actually hit the same receptor. So when that receptor is open, because it, it doesn't have those minerals on it, then it's a receptor site for those heavy metals. And now that's blocking. So let's say you get your act together and you start increasing, you fix whatever's wrong, and you start getting more minerals into your body. Those receptor sites are still not available unless you do something drastic. And so what I did is that I looked at, and this is something that I offer to anybody that gets hair tissue mineral analysis, is that I looked at your results and I gave myself, what do I want to say? Precision supplements, where I looked at the results of my hair tissue mineral analysis, and I put everything into my own personalized supplements to replenish what I was missing. And now that I'm flooding my system with those minerals, I'm actually knocking the arsenic, and I had just a little bit of mercury. I'm knocking them because I'm flooding them. I'm flooding those receptors with the minerals. I'm knocking those heavy metals off of those receptor sites. That's how it works. Like, I'm overwhelming the receptors with the minerals that should be there. And so it's knocking those heavy metals off. So in addition to replenishing the minerals, I'm also taking a binder so that those heavy metals are not just floating around in my body creating damage, or getting sequestered in my fat cells and causing my body to not burn fat, because that's the other thing that happens. If you're having problems burning fat, it's probably because your fat is holding on to toxins and it doesn't want to release those because it's trying to protect you. Toxins are our enemy for stress, for mineral deficiencies, for making our enzymes, for detoxing our body. Like, we really have to realize that that is at the root cause of so much that we're dealing with, so much that we're relating to a slowed metabolism. No, it's probably slowed because our body's dealing with these toxins. I'll save that for another live, or for questions if you have questions after this. So I'm using a binder that's actually binding to that heavy metal and getting it out of my system. But in addition to that binder, and I can tell that things are happening because I have something which is called a Herxheimer reaction, which happens when things are moving in the body, when your detox pathways are opening, and when you're moving these heavy metals or toxins around in the body. You'll have reaction like headaches. So I've been having quite a few headaches. You'll have fatigue. I've been having a little bit of shortness of breath. I've been having soreness in my muscles where I wasn't having. So I can tell that things are happening. And slowly on the back end, what I'm noticing is that brain fog that I was having from having some of those heavy metals and some of those mineral deficiencies is starting to fix itself. That I'm not word searching anymore, that I don't sit in front of my computer and I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? That I'm not overwhelmed by, analysis paralysis, that I can make quicker decisions, that I remember the names of things, that kind of stuff. It's subtle little things right now. But I can tell that I am totally on the right path. So of course, I'm going to talk to you about this. Of course, I'm getting ready to send my sister a message that basically says, you're doing this. And when we get your results back, you're doing the supplements as well, because I want her to feel as good as she can. I know she has some chronic pain issues. She has some metabolism issues. She's got some sleep issues. I know that she has some brain fog issues. And so, you know, a lot of the same things that I've been able to see an improvement in for myself. So it's out there. I'm just letting you know that hair tissue mineral analysis is a real thing. The reason that we use the hair is because that's going to tell us a story about what your minerals have been doing over the last, you know, 3 to 6 months or so. Instead of just looking at what's going on in the blood right now. Blood is great. Not every, you know, the only issue with looking at your minerals in your blood is that that's not where your minerals are stored. Your minerals are stored in your muscles and your tissue and your bones and your teeth, you know. And so if it's in the blood, it's because it's being transported in the blood, or because there's a mineral deficiency and your blood preserves its levels at the detriment of other things. So it's pulling it out of your tissues. It might be pushing it into other tissues if you have an excess for some reason. So your blood is not where you want to look at your minerals. And it's also not where you're going to see a lot of your toxins, because we're talking about minuscule little amounts that build up over time. And so that's what we're seeing in the hair. Anyway, I am just droning on and on and on, but I just wanted to let you know, because I always like to share like what I'm doing. I want to share like firsthand results of how I'm feeling, how this is working, what it looks like, what it feels like, that sort of thing. So if anybody is interested, if you have questions, I'm an open book. I certainly want you to get the information. Just reach out to me. I'm happy to share. So hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. It is actually a beautiful morning where it's not 10 million degrees by 10 o'clock. And so I'm out here just taking in nature, getting some sunlight in my eyes, because that is another thing that we have to do in order to help with our hormonal balance. One thing I want to leave you with is that, you know, there's truly a rhythm to your hormones, and we don't think about our hormones as just a value of one hormone, because I tell my clients that it's kind of like a mobile that's above a baby's bed, that when one hormone is affected by something, could be affected by stress. Yes, Angie, I absolutely will retest, and I will probably retest at 4 months, just because I want to give myself an opportunity to, when I did my supplements, I actually got 3 months worth of the supplements, and I want to give my body an opportunity to adjust. So 4 months, I think, is a good amount of time in order to see those changes in your hair tissue mineral analysis amounts. Because it really gives you that, like I said, 3 to 6 month kind of window, and you're looking at new hair growth. So, and it's just a small amount of hair, so you'll never be able to know what that is. And that's how I recommend the supplements, that we do 3 months at a time. First of all, to make sure that you have a little bit of skin in the game, that you've bought these supplements, and so you're going to take them, because, you know, compliance and consistency is the name of the game, and so many times people really need the most help with that. Like, you need the most help with that. So what I was saying about that, the hormones, is that, first of all, there's a hierarchy of hormones. That the first hormone that you need to sort of be aware of and to be actively dealing with is cortisol. You can take, everybody thinks about sex hormones. They think about estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and those are important, but they are way higher on the hormone hierarchy. And if your cortisol isn't right, it doesn't really matter what you do with your estrogen, it's not going to be right. So it's kind of like a baby's mobile, that when one thing goes off, that it affects everything else. Thyroid hormone is one of those that's lower down in the the hormone hierarchy in this triangle, if you will. Insulin, so it's cortisol, insulin, oxytocin, pregnenolone, and pregnenolone is one of those things that helps build the sex hormones, but it can also be stolen to build other hormones. And then thyroid hormone. And then we have our sex hormones. So you can see that, you know, we're dealing with things that are like stress, life and death kind of things, you know. You're going to release cortisol if your blood sugar is low. So it is a life-saving hormone. Whether you have estrogen or not is a nice to have kind of a thing, but if your cortisol is off, then you're not gonna, your estrogen is never gonna be normal. So anyway, so I just wanted to share that as well. And these are all things that I talk about, that I really teach you about, in my programs. So, just so that you know, I want you walking away knowing as much as I know, or almost as much as I know from these programs, because I don't want you to feel like you have to have a list of this is what I need to do, or a checklist, or because that isn't how we live, and that isn't going to be something that you do, you know, forever. I want you to not be someone who does healthy things. I want you to be a healthy person because you understand how your body works and you understand why what you're doing is important. So that's the whole point of all of this, is that you are already the expert on your body, but I want you to understand the things that you don't understand. Like, you know what your symptoms are, you know how your body reacts to certain things, you know what you're going to do, what you're going to prioritize, and all that sort of thing. Now, I want to show you how your body's inner workings come about, so that you can match those two up, so that you can be the absolute expert on not only biology, of how biology works, but how it works specifically in your body, because I want you to be the healthiest that you can be. I want you to thrive. And I think it requires a little bit of help in this day and age when there's so much out there that is working against us. Hey, Kathy. All right, guys, this has been really long. I appreciate those of you who tuned in. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. I'm an open book. I want you to know. I want you to be the expert on your body. All right, I'll talk to you soon.